Lads, welcome to the 250 subscriber special. Today, we're going to be doing it off the cusp. Answers to your questions off of Twitter and YouTube. Before we begin this 250 subscriber Q&A, before we get into it, I want to remind you that if you would like to help support the channel, there's a few ways you can do it. Obviously, you can always like and subscribe. Liking boosts the amount of people that get to see the videos, and subscribing helps me get closer to being monetized so that I can start making a little bit of money off of these videos to continue bringing you even more content. But if you want to help support the channel beyond the like and subscribe button, consider going to my Teespring store and buying some of my merch. I am actually in the process of building a couple more shirts here in the near future, as well as checking out the Twitter. That just lets you stay informed. There's a Patreon link. I want to do Patreon things, but it's difficult because I'm such a small channel. And finally, if you go to the TCG Player store link in the description of every video, moving forward, that is the TCG Player store for the card shop that I vend at and help run the Yu-Gi-Oh sales out of. So, if you want to help me out and get some cool products, those are great ways that will directly impact my ability to continue bringing you guys consistent and fun content. But without further ado, we're going to dive right into the 250 subscriber Q&A with me, Patrick, from Fusion YGO. Let's dive into it with question number 1. Okay, so from the deck to the YouTube, actually asked a couple of questions, and we're going to start with the first one. Why Fusion? Okay, so I have been playing this game for a long time, and Fusion summoning was something I thought was really cool when I was a kid, and I still think it's really cool. It's a really fun mechanic, and I decided to go with Fusion YGO to be the branch between old school players, people that kind of quit after GOAT format, like around Synchro format, and, you know, competitive players today. I wanted it to be something that, like, easily recognizable. Also, if you look at my insignia, it's pretty cool. The artist, she did a bang-up job. I gave her kind of like what I was thinking in my head, and what she brought me was 10 billion times better than anything I could have possibly asked for. I'm going to ask her if she would like, if she's willing to do commissions, if I can put her link, but I got to talk to her first before I do that. But she did amazing artwork. She is an absolutely incredible, fantastic, stellar artist. So I went with Fusion because the original name was Yin Yang Zing, and it was too long. It was way too long. So Fusion YGO seemed very short, sweet, to the point. You knew it was Yu-Gi-Oh content. You didn't know exactly what you were gonna get, and I really like it. I really like being the founder of this team, the branch off of what used to be Yin Yang Zing. I'm really proud of all the work I have personally done with this channel. His second question: when did you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh? I think I just answered that. I've been playing this game a long time, dude. 2002 when the game came out in the United States with the starter deck, Yugi, and starter deck Kaiba and the Legend of Blue Eye set. That's when I started playing. I have taken hiatuses from the game. I know that during Synchro format in about 2007, I started to walk away from the game, from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I went more to Magic the Gathering. And then Magic the Gathering, like, I felt disenfranchised from, just due to the toxicity of the top of, and the player base at the top of competitive circuits. Just, they weren't my kind of people. And that's not to say that there aren't good people, just in my experience, it wasn't good. And I went to play that really competitively. Then I took a huge break from card games altogether before coming back to the game in about 2011, 2012. I took a couple of years off, as you can tell. I came back to it. I played casually with some friends. I played Dragon Rulers because it was a really cool deck. And I just liked it. It wasn't for any other reason, just because I thought the deck was cool. I didn't realize at the time that it was one of the best decks of all time. Looking back on it, I don't know how I missed that. And then I got really into it competitively about 2016. It's when I went from being more of a casual player. I didn't really care too much. One of the first guests I had for Bard of the Cards was Seto Kaiba, the YouTube channel. He was one of the first people. He was the first person I did an interview with for Bard of the Cards, and he was the first YouTuber I subscribed to, and then I found more of them, and I got into it, and I really enjoyed the community, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I created my channel, and that's kind of how I got here. I started it with a buddy of mine, Josh, who has now moved to Pokemon. He didn't enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's what it is. He actually runs the Pokemon sales at the card shop I work at, so that's pretty cool. And what is the best deck? Let's go! Okay, so that's how it's read. Just by the way, I'm not just being a doofus. The best deck in the current format, unironically, I have to say it's Eldritch. Probably Synchro Eldritch right now. My personal favorite deck of all time has been Orcust. I have thoroughly enjoyed this deck. I mean, I've played every iteration I could come up with. It's such a fun deck. It's so versatile. It's so toolboxy. It's very good. I really enjoy the deck. It's hard to say what the best deck of all time is. If I had to choose, it'd probably be Pepe. Pepe was stupid. When you have to ban 7 cards to even put a dent in it, you know you've created a monster. But the best deck currently has to be Eldritch. I'd love to say it's Machina Orcust, but I'm not going to lie to you guys or try to hype myself up. I think I've created something that can compete with and beat Eldritch and beat Adamancipator, but I don't think that claiming that just because I've built a individual deck that I'm very confident and comfortable with, and I can beat them, doesn't mean that any average Joe can pick up the deck and win with it. So I have to say Eldritch in this respect. Alright, Bystander, another YouTuber. So from the deck to the YouTube, obviously another YouTuber. Bystander is another YouTuber. So he's got a couple of questions for me. Best deck I've ever played. Probably Full Power Dragon Ruler. That was a crazy deck. I think Machina Orcust, or Orcust in general, like any Orcust variant that I've played at a competitive level, has probably been the best deck that I've ever played just because it's so versatile and so powerful. Worst deck I've ever played. I love this deck, but it's not great. Crawlers. I've seen success with Crawlers. It's fun, but it's not super powerful. And what deck or archetype do you think needs to be better? I think Metaphys is missing like 1 or 2 cards. I think it needs a Scale 9 that lets you Pendulum Summon from the Banish pile. That would be incredible just to pair with Metaphys Decoy Dragon. I think that would be a really cool duo. Giving you the option to Pendulum Summon out of the Banish pile. I think that would be incredible for Metaphys specifically. And I think they need something that... Another normal summon that does something similar to Metaphys Ragnarok, but not exactly the same, if that makes any sense. Metaphys is one of my favorite decks. It's super fun. And I think that deck it needs some loving. Alexis YouTube asks, if you could create a rule for Master Rule 6, what would it be? I have no idea. I'm a pretty creative person within the confines and the rules of the game. Outside of it, I don't know what I would do to shake up the game more so. I think Master Rule 6 would actually be better suited to creating a legacy format. I think that would be something really cool, and I think that would be something that would bring a lot of players back to the game. And it would actually help us with oversaturation of product. Something that I was talking to a couple of people in Magic and Pokemon about, because I work at a card shop. What we were talking about was they have less sets and products released a year than us by a significant margin. We have products every couple of weeks, and as vendors, it's hard to get a hold of. If you're not an OTS store, which I'm not yet, I'm working on it, or if you're not, it's hard, and there's so much product for Yu-Gi-Oh! What if we allocated some of that production space to legacy formats? Or I think what would be cool is instead of maybe a legacy format, what if we did a 4 or an 8 deck format? So it's like a cube. So everybody gets a starter deck, and they get a couple of booster packs, or whatever. And there's basically, in this format, there's 4 or 8 decks. So what it could be is like 4 tribute summon based decks. So you could have True Draco, Monarchs, something like that. Then you could have the ritual based deck. So you could have things like Shino Bird and Megalith and fill in, you know, something like that. So you got like 4 decks. And then you've got your fusion based decks. So you got like Shadal, you got Fluffles, things like that. Then you've got your Synchro based decks, so you've got like Stardust Dragon Turbo and the Red Dragon Archfiend decks or whatever. Just pure Adamantipator, none of the other stuff. Things like that. Then you've got your Pendulum, or your Exceeds deck, so you'd have your Rank 4 Toolbox, your Burning Abyss, things like that. Then you have your Pendulum decks, so you'd have things like Pendulum Magician, Endymion, Zephyra, things like that. And then you have your link-based decks, so you'd have like Goki and Orcust as an option, I guess, or even like World Chalice, things like that. So you basically have 4 decks, 4 archetypes that work around a certain mechanic, or, you know, however, and you've built these sets, so you have 1 of 4 decks as an option, and it's a constructed format, so you can buy into it, and, you know, you've got just decks or archetypes that are not as prevalent in the meta, and this is a way for them to be, okay, you only have access to cards out of this pool. So it's like Speed Duels, but it's based in the current format, so you're able to play things that are on a similar level. It would basically be like Table 500 or whatever. They could create archetypes for it that aren't as powerful, and you're able to take archetypes that aren't as strong in the current field, like things like For Hires, as an example, and bring them to a realm where they're in a vacuum. So it's 8, 16 decks or archetypes that are in similar power, and that's the rotation for 2 years, is these 8 or 16 archetypes and everything that comes out in those sets, and they have to be from these specific sets to be played. Pretty cool concept. Or they could create decks like that, and that's how they can use the filler stuff. Just a cool way to, instead of overprinting and oversaturating the market, these are cool concepts that we can test in a vacuum and then release to the general game. Or these are things that just weren't powerful enough in the general game. Now they have their time to shine for a year or 2 years, or however they want to do the cycling for that. And it gives a way for new players to be introduced to the game in a healthier and more vacuum-packed thing. And I think that would be better than a new Master Rule, my opinion. That's my idea, I guess. Tyler, the professional Metaphys player. Favorite deck aesthetically? I really like Dark World, and I'm not trying to be like edgy. I've always thought they were really cool. I love the mechanic of them. I think the artwork is incredible. It is very edgy, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I love that archetype. It'll always be one of my favorites. I'm also a really big fan of Metaphys as like a rework of classic monsters to, you know, a theme. TCG Tolly says, what is your favorite card? My personal favorite card is Alistair the Invoker. There's no real reason, I just think it looks really cool. Casual Kiwi Yu-Gi-Oh! Hey, I just did a shout out for him. Casual Kiwi Yu-Gi-Oh! Asks, what is your biggest sacrifice you've made for Yu-Gi-Oh? I've been very fortunate. Because I've been collecting cards and playing this game for so long, the only sacrifice I really make is time, and you're going to sacrifice time for anything you enjoy doing, and because I do this for a job on multiple fronts, this game helps me provide for my family, whether it be selling the cards online and vending, running events, doing YouTube. This stuff is what helps me pay for my family, and obviously I'd love a pay raise. Buy merch. But and that is an investment from you guys to me. So the biggest sacrifice I've made is mostly just time, because there's just not enough of it. Rank Up Yu-Gi-Oh! Asks, what is or was your favorite format or meta? I actually okay, so the 4-deck format of 2019 was one of my favorite years in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we really did have 4 completely different style decks. We had Orchest. Obviously, I'm going to be biased to that. But we also had things, you could play Salamangreat, you could play Sky Striker, you could play Thunder Dragon. All 4 of those decks were viable, and if you didn't want to play those, all of them had matchups that weren't super great. In the rogue category, you saw things all the time that could compete with them at a high level. There was so much diversity last year. So much. And I think it was one of my favorite years playing this game. It was nothing like 2018, the year of the FTK. This was a year of diversity in the game. There were so many top decks. It was amazing. And I think that was probably my favorite year playing this game ever. I personally convinced a lot of people to come back to the game because 2019 was that much fun for me. And I'm enjoying 2020 so far as the competitive scene. My only problem is that the quarantine, it's brought the game to a stalemate. And there's nothing Konami can do about it right now without admitting that online tournaments are happening. I think the PPG not holding tournaments where it's right the current ban list as well as their own ban list, I think that would be better than what they're doing right now. They're running with their own personal ban list, and that's fine. It's your prerogative, it's your business, but I think they should be running tournaments with the current format so people can, get practice in when and if, physical play picks back up again. I think Konami's in best interest, and this is something completely useless. Like, this isn't even what you asked, Rank Up. I'm sorry. I'm going off on a tangent. I think the best course of action for Konami would be, instead of banning anything, they should just release a bunch of cards that don't need to be banned. Engage coming back to 1, Harpor coming back to 1. I'm not saying, like, open the floodgates, but, like, bring things back to 1 and see how they compete in a vacuum. Because this is a different kind of era because everything's online and there's less physical play, so it's the best way to do it. Emmanuel Silva asks, are you going to use Fire Flint Lady in your Goki list? Yes, that card is nutty. I have nothing to add to that. I'm sorry, I don't have any tangent for you. Red Eyes Jacolo. What's up, Jacolo? Red Eyes Jacolo asks, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I have no idea. Because they can't. I live in the real world. Ice214 says, you trying to 1v1 me, mate? I don't... Like, in a duel? Sure, anytime. Just, hit me up. Sebavinci YouTube says, what do you think Yu-Gi-Oh's success is due to? Okay, this is a loaded question. I need a drink for it. So I've got, cheers. Water. Incredibly important. Sebavinci YouTube. Okay. So Yu-Gi-Oh's success is due to a few things. One, let's talk about the big 3 card games. The 3 card games that have existed for a while. Let's break it down. Pokemon is essentially a game of combat solitaire. Your opponent's going to do something, and then you're going to do something. And then your opponent's going to do something, and then you're going to do something. It can be fun. I'll play casually with people every once in a while. I know how to play it. It's not super complicated. It is very, you have to have lines of play. You have to know what your deck can do. But its resource management game is totally different. And it is very solitary. Your opponent gets the entire time that they're able to play cards, they play cards. And then it's the other way around, and there's no interaction. The interaction is, okay, I'm going to try and punch this thing. Then there's Magic. Magic has a little bit of interactivity, but it still has that resource management system, so it's hard, it takes longer to interact with people, if that makes any sense. So there's no interaction, partial interaction, as that's what Magic is. It's partial interaction. You're fully able to interact with them, but there's only like certain ways you can do it, and it requires resources. And then there's Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is constant interaction. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh!'s success is because it's so complicated and it's so difficult at the higher levels of play that it brings a lot of people in that really like strategy-based and RNG-based games. That's where its success lies. It is the most difficult point of entry of the big three. It has the most difficult and diverse card pool in its metagame because we just have a ban list, we don't have a set rotation. And I think its success is due to those things, is that it's not solitary, you're always able to interact, and the only thing that's holding you back is your own resource management as far as deck building and things like that. So I think that's where Yu-Gi-Oh's success is ultimately from, is just its level of interactivity. People like that. So finally, the last question for our Q&A goes to TCS Chaos. If you had to make a deck around only one monster attribute, what would you pick and why? This one caught me off guard. I don't know. There's kind of an attribute, a deck of a certain attribute that has succeeded at all levels of play. So I don't know if it would be something that I want to necessarily build competitively. But if I'm thinking, for me personally, I think wind doesn't really get enough love. Fire gets a lot of love from Salamangreat and whatever. Water gets has mermails, and they're the standout of that. Earth has now Adamancipator, which is crazy. Dark has Orcust. It has Blackwings. It has Burning Abyss. It has just a laundry list of decks. Light, oh my god, let's not even get into it. But Wind doesn't really have one that stands out. Yeah, they got Gustos, and that's cool, but nothing that's like, oh yeah, that Wind deck existed. So I think a really powerful Wind attribute deck would be really cool. I have no idea what they would be. Maybe they could be Angry Birds the deck. Black Wings, but green wings. I don't know. I have no idea. I think Wind would just be something cool. Make an archetype that's super popular, like Mermails, like Salamangreat, like Burning Abyss, like those decks. I think something like that would be really cool. And that is all of my El Questions. That's everything. Thank you guys so much. We have hit 200. We're over 260 subscribers already. We've already we're already past the 250 mark. I'm really behind the ball, but you guys are on top of it. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much, lads, for everything you've done. You guys have bolstered me up from this little tiny channel, and in the past year and a half, I have tripled my numbers, and you guys are all to thank for it. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you seriously from the bottom of my heart, because everything that you guys have given back to this channel and subscriptions and comments and everything, I am trying to bring you guys better and better and better content. I want to start bringing live duels to the channel. That is a work in progress. But you guys just, thank you. I can't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have it financially to be able to help me out by buying shirts, buying cards, whatever, please hit those links in the comment section, in the description of the video, and help me out. Every penny goes back into the channel or into my kids' stomachs. So either way, if you guys could find the ability to help me, I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, lads, good fun, have luck.